Take off your shoes, stockings, and let your feet go down. 'Cause we are the girls from Evergreen Avenue. Shake it if you can. Oh!
Today is Testimony Tuesday, and I'm going to share my testimony. I'm going to talk about a show I was watching on Netflix about these 4 teenagers who were sentenced to life in prison for murder, for first-degree murder. And what stood out to me about the story was on April 10th, 1995, 4 teenagers shot this young man named named Christopher in the head, and they killed him. Their plan was to steal his car. And so the 4 teenagers were sentenced to life. They was charged with first-degree murder. It was 2 white boys and 2 black boys. The 13-year-old boy, who was a white kid, they said he was too young to go to prison for life. They gave him 5 years, and then he was released. The other one took a plea deal, and I believe he got 15 years. But the 2 black boys were sentenced to life. And one of the kids that stood out to me was Curtis Brooks, because Curtis Brooks came from a life like mine, where his mother was on crack, and he was pretty much left on his own. And one day, his mother cracked him upside of his head with a metal object, and he got a concussion. He had to go to the hospital. He had to be stitched up, and he was asked at the hospital if he wanted to press charges, and he said, well, that's my mother, so no. And so he was released, and he went home. And his mother told him to get out. She put him out. She put him out that day. And so this boy is 15 years old, homeless on the streets. He was in a mall when he met the other 3 guys, who he would later that day, they would go to prison. That day go to prison. So he met these guys, and he knew they were going to steal his car. He knew that, but he didn't know the rest of it. And so because he was with them when he got charged with first-degree murder, although he did not shoot the guy, he did shoot the gun up in the air, though, to try to scare the guy and steal the car and all that stuff. But anyway, he went to jail, 15 years old, in this prison with all these grown men, and he's over 40 years old trying to get released from prison. He didn't have a record, so he was pretty much a good kid, just in a bad situation. He didn't shoot the guy. He didn't know they were going to kill anyone, but he was just with the wrong people, wrong place, wrong time, in the wrong situation. And those things can happen. And it just stood out to me because April 10th is my birthday. That's the day of the crime, 1995. I was a teenager at that time, and I remember I was put out on the street. My mother put me out at that age, and not at 15. I was a little older, 17, but I was put out. And I just remember just walking the streets at night being afraid. I had some friends that took me in, Claudia Cameron, Marjorie Youngblood, Lynette, Arthur, beautiful people. They would take me in, but there were some nights that I had nowhere to go. There was nights I was sitting in the park and I was afraid. I was looking over my shoulder every second because I was in this huge park in New York City and I didn't know who was going to walk up on me. So what I had started to do was sleep in the movie theaters at night. I would sleep there, just go to like the last couple of movies, sneak in, sleep for 4 or 5 hours because I knew I would be up for the rest of the night. I knew I would be on the street. When the theater closed, I would be on the street for the rest of the night. So I would go like towards the next to last show and just sleep for a couple of hours, a few hours, and then I would ride the train. I would sit in the back car of the train and I would ride it from the first stop to the last stop and do that all night and stay awake, because that was better than me being in the street or being in the park or what have you. And one time I fell asleep, and when I opened my eyes, there was this man in front of me, and he had this newspaper, and he was staring at me really strange. And when he moved the paper, he was masturbating. And I remember I just got up and I ran from the back of the train all the way to the first car where the conductor is. And I remember just being so afraid and running, and just that life of not having anywhere to go. I know what that feels like. And I started working for this lady. I got this job. One of my friends, Rashida. Thank you, Rashida. Rashida got me a job working for this lady, this white, well, I'm going to say white. She's a Jewish lady. Yeah, white lady. And very nice. Her birthday was in April like mine. and she just liked me. She gave me a job, and I worked for her. And she said to me one day, I don't understand why you are out on the street. You don't use drugs. You don't drink. You pray all the time. You're the most honest person I know. I don't understand. And she said, you're one of my best employees, and I want to make sure that you know that you have a place to stay. So she offered me, well, she let me stay at her condo on West 50th Street between 8th and 9th, a high rise, beautiful doorman at the building. And I just want to say, God is great. You know, she said I could stay in her condo. I just had to walk her dogs. And she gave me a job. And that lady was wonderful to me. And to this day, I love her with all my heart. So God is really, really great. God is wonderful. That's my testimony. And you know, this is by no means to put anybody down, especially not my mother or anyone in my family, because I do love my mother. But this is just what happened. This was my journey. This is my testimony. I did live on the street, and I was out of the house for a very, very long time. And, you know, it was tough and it was really hard. And I was really young. I was a girl, you know, a young girl out there with nowhere to go. And there was people that God put in my life that took me in. And then God sent Iris, sent me to Iris, and she opened her doors to me. She opened her door to me, and she didn't have to. And so that's my testimony for today. You can RSVP for my virtual book signing experience. It is going to be epic. October 18th at 7 p.m. That's on a Sunday. RSVP, click the link in the bio or go to eventbrite.com and search Evergreen Uprooted. And also follow me on Instagram at Evergreen Uprooted. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great Tuesday.
Red Top.